Hi, everyone. I'm Monique Strasburger, and this is Behind the Impact, a series where we're talking to some amazing people that are bringing real impact to the lives of the most vulnerable girls and boys around the world. Today, I'm joined by Josh Folkema. He's VP of Product at World Vision Canada, and I'm so very glad that we're doing this. Hi, Josh. Welcome.
Hi, Monique.
It's been a very long time that we've been talking about this, and I don't know, I think it feels like we're finally here because we've started talking about this a few months ago when we were interviewing donors and donors were saying, oh, I really want to know more about this behind the scenes, how you guys work. And now we're here and now we're finally trying to get something out there. But why do you think that is? Like, why do you think donors actually care about like the behind the scenes?
It's a good question. I would love to ask the donors why they care, but if I was to assume what it is they care about, I think it's like it makes the work feel real, right? It's like real people doing real things versus like, oh, I'm just getting a letter from somebody that sort of feels sort of maybe inauthentic sometimes, right? So it's a way for you to help connect better with the work and the people.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess that's also why I'm really interested in you being our first guest, because like understanding who is behind. Some of us, like myself, we had a history with World Vision Canada that has like specific flavors, let's say, like job positions and ways, but not you. Like you've been with World Vision for 17 years. And wow, first of all. And the second thing is you started in the front lines. You started with food distribution. And maybe a lot of people don't know, but it's one of the hearts of World Vision. Like it's one of the things that we do a lot of. Just for scale, for people to understand, we distribute people no, we don't distribute people. We distribute food to almost 2 million people every month. So the World Vision Canada donors, they are feeding like a city on the size of the city of Montreal or the metropolitan area of Calgary. That's the number of people the Canadian donors are feeding every single month. And that's a part of the work that we do that you are part of. And I really want to have your experience and share with a little bit with us, not only what that experience was like, but how did that shape you as a leader that you are today? How does that change or influence the way that the work that we do today here in the Canadian office from that experience you had?
Yeah. No, it's no, thanks for the question. I mean, another context point I think too that's important about World Vision is like, so the World Food Program is the largest UN agency, not the largest UN agency, they may be, I don't know, but they're the largest food distributors around the world. But they don't deliver last mile in many cases. World Vision is the last mile distributor of the UN World Food Program. And for those that remember, they won the Nobel Peace Prize like maybe 3 years ago. So being the largest implementer of somebody like an agency that delivers such a critical part has been, it's obviously an honor to be a part of that conversation as well. I mean, maybe I'll go back. My first job was in Uganda, and I was working in northern Uganda. It was kind of at the tail end of like now I'm forgetting the name of um, the rebel movement at the time, but it became very famous. But yeah, so like I was on the tail end of that, and so we're kind of walking in and out of insecure areas. But the area I worked in wasn't necessarily food insecure, but it was just a place that struggled with like, how do I get value from what I'm producing? Whether it's like I'm producing food or I'm producing some economic value, like they weren't getting enough. And so I actually had a side project at the time where I started a coffee co-op because it was it was kind of in the foothills of the mountains, like right on the border of DRC. It was like gorgeous area. And so we helped farmers. I did it on the weekends. For some reason, it wasn't really part of my day job at the time, but I was like, oh, let's do this. So I set up a co-op there and as a way to start like finding export markets. And even my dad ended up importing a lot of that coffee and selling it for a while. But what I learned there was that even though they weren't food insecure, they were already vulnerable to potential future issues. And you found like a lot of people were just sacrificing their long-term benefits for short-term survivals, right? So they were like making decisions because I need food today or I need money today. And so I will sacrifice something into the future for it. And so the valuation of that which I'll talk about more in a minute, was sort of like there was an equation there that wasn't working for many people, and it's pretty indicative where for a lot of places you go in the world where people have to make these decisions.
Yeah.
But then after that, I got into some actual food distribution deployment, and so I was involved in, I think it was 2005 and 2006 in Malawi and Mozambique. So I was leading food delivery efforts there, and that was in the middle of a famine. And so there was like huge need to get food into the hands of people on a regular basis. And then I had a different experience in Myanmar in 2008, and that was responding to a cyclone. And I think one of the things I realized coming out of that, like nobody comes to receive food. It's like they want to be there, right? Like nobody comes because like, oh, it's free food. It was good, right?
Yeah.
It's a last resort for many people.
Yeah.
And I think through all these experiences, like emergencies they're really a culmination of these long-term vulnerabilities. So maybe I didn't work on the emergency food side on Uganda, but there were underlying vulnerabilities, and those underlying vulnerabilities they become more obvious when you have a natural disaster or you have I don't know if it's a man-made disaster, but like a climate-related issue where you just don't have rain over a period of time, right? And crops fail, those sorts of things. So my big lesson from those early sort of frontline experiences was really understanding what the underlying drivers of vulnerability were. And so that was the key piece of it. And it got me into like a bunch of rabbit holes at the time. And one of them was this concept that's called sort of market externalities. And I got really kind of fascinated with this idea of what's the true value of a thing or commodity, right?
Yep.
When you add in the social and environmental costs, the negative costs that are associated with it. So like, let's say you buy sugar, what you don't pay for reflects the health or the social or the environmental cost it takes to produce that bag of sugar.
Yeah.
And so how do you actually price things properly? So that piece of it I got really interested in. And then the second part was kind of this idea of the world isn't a binary cause or effect type of environment, right? Like it's like I do this thing and it creates this effect. Lives are interconnected. Like if you think of your life or my life, it's not like even on a daily basis, if you do this thing will happen. It doesn't account for all the variables or the people you interact with on a daily basis. Yeah. And so I got really interested in this concept called complexity theory and how we think of things as sort of systems at equilibriums versus like binary pathways.
Yeah.
So there was that, and then you added on sort of what is the true value of the work we do, and that's something that we've referred to more recently as real impact.
Yeah, I know that you were speaking a lot of complicated concepts that I can follow, but at the same time, I also know that there is a lot there that I would love to unpack. But really, at the end of the day, it's just gut-wrenching that there's still famine in the world. Like that, just that aspect of it, and you know me, and I'm gonna start crying, but like, it's so important. It's like, how can you not, right? It's the survival mode of people, and what you said is so true, that it's not only that, because people do need the food, but they also want that connection, and they go to these distributions to be connected and find peers that they can also start to rebuild their lives. So yeah, I'm just that I didn't know about the Uganda story. Like, I know some of your stories, but not this one. And if you know Josh, you know that he's never doing one thing. So it does not surprise me that you were doing something on the side. And that's fantastic. I didn't know that. And I'm hopeful that that experience also taught the people in Uganda of the opportunities that they can have in their own lives as well. But then after you left the front lines, you came back to Canada. You had different aspects of the work going on for you. And we met like around 5 years ago, which feels super strange to say because anyway. And then it was like in the middle of the whole agile transformation that World Vision was going through, which was really interesting. A few years ago, we even published that agile learning, if you remember. Yeah. And it was a funny one because a lot of people internally and even externally wanted to talk about it because it's not really common, agile and nonprofits and charities. So that was interesting. Again, both of us geeking about this. But then now this whole path led you to be here, the first VP of product of World Vision Canada. And there's a lot of things that you do today. But one of the things that I believe people would be really interested in learning more about is a big part of your job, which is leading the new design, building, and enhancement of the donor experience for the Canadian donors. And so exciting because I work with you, so I know all of the ins and outs of this. But I guess my question is more in terms, because I also know that you are a World Vision donor. So even though you're looking at this from a staff perspective, you're also a donor, so you have certain expectations. So what excites you the most about this new experience that we're building, and what can you see in what we have today that we're offering that is really makes you smile and wants you to say yes, that was a great decision for me to continue to be a World Vision donor?
Yeah, so I think so I've been doing this for probably more time than, well, I think you've already shared enough time. Maybe I shouldn't, but it feels like decades now, right? Where I've
Yes.
been doing this stuff. But it's been really like this journey that we've been on has really been the last 5 years. And it started with, if we want to be an impact-led organization, we need to know what it means for us. And so we started by how do we organize our data in a way that's more centralized and is coherent? And maybe this is a whole other conversation for another day, like all the mistakes we made along the way.
Yes.
But in the end, like we were able to pull together an amazing amount of data from our programs around the world and be able to speak to what it was actually doing. And I think what it does is, for me, is it really represents, it started to represent the work in a much clearer and cohesive way that we were involved in, where previous to that, we knew it was good, but we had no hard evidence to say this is it and here it is and you can point to it, right? And so I feel like, as we've kind of merged into this sort of new world, it's like our job to take that data and pair that with the stories to be able to tell the people what's impacted, what the impact is, right? So you have the data on one side, you have the stories on the other side. How do you bridge those two things together to be able to tell a cohesive way and a narrative that people will really get inspired by? Because it's been decades, but I'm still impressed by the things that we do and see on a regular basis. But then it's telling those stories, it's bringing them together in an efficient way to sort of put that out there. And I think that's really where, over the last 5 years, what we've done is we build all these awesome back-end systems, which look nice on paper, but if they don't end up in the customer's hand or the donor's hand, then they mean nothing, right? So I think that's really, what I'm excited by. We've got this awesome platform that we've launched. You can go in there. It's got incredible depth of data. And a lot more. I think we're just scratching the surface of the stuff that we have. And there's a lot of power that will come from just being able to put more of that out there for people to see. So if you go in there now, you can see your personal, what we're calling a personal proof of reach. And that personal proof of reach is this connection of your individual dollars with all the people that you've reached. And we will have more of that in the future to say, what is the connection between my giving and that? We have we have content now that pairs with a lot of this data. What are the things that you're really interested in? And it will learn from you, right? So if you start reading things, you start looking at things, it'll say oh, Monique, you like this type of content, or you like this video, right? It will learn. And so your content feed will be different than someone else's content feed. And because we've also started to produce a high volume of content, which allows us to personalize so much of it for either the time you're in, the things you're interested in, and be able to really feel that. And I think, what I'm excited about coming up is getting down to that project level, having the transparency that my money came from, I gave this money to World Vision and it showed me exactly the location of where my money went, and being able to look at the progress of how that community or how this project has evolved to serve its mission over time. And that's really what I'm excited by in the next couple quarters that we'll be sharing more and more with our donors. And I think maybe the last thing I'll say is I think just the pace at which we're operating now, we're changing and updating, providing more information on a more regular basis. And so I think if you're a donor, it'd be awesome if you could just log in. If you're not, create an account anyways, right? Because you can still benefit from everything that's there.
That is true. That's true, because then you can experience and see what we're talking about for sure. And the thing that I'm also excited about is a little bit of what you said, which is the transparency of this, because me as a donor,
Yeah.
I can go in the backend systems because I work here and I can see a lot of things that the donor does not. And I'm craving to be able to share and like, okay, this is, and it has to be shared in a way that is understandable, right? It can't be just like mumbo jumbo, like you guys are talking in like, this does not make sense. Like we're spending a lot of time also trying to figure out what is the most important piece of data, piece of content that really is going to connect with you so that you as a donor understand where your donations went and, to your point, what the progress is doing. Like we've internally, for those that don't know, we speak a lot of like the 4 Ps. So what is the problem that we're trying to solve? What is the plan to solve that problem? What is the proof that our plan is sound? And what is the progress that we're doing against that plan? And being able to tell that, because again, we reach millions of people every year. So it's a lot. You can explain like a story at that level, but then it becomes too high level. Like people really want to understand what is going on with their donations in the places where the donations are going. So I'm so excited about that level of transparency that we're gonna be able to provide for donors like across all of the programs that we have. So very happy. And
I think so. I just want to say, like, I think one of the things, like, we've really transitioned, I think, as a sector. And one of the things that we always say is like, it used to be like a currency of trust, right? Like you give us money, you trust us to deliver it. And, we appreciate so many people that do that. But we've really started moving into a culture of accountability, right? Like, tell me what you're doing with my money, and show me. And I think that's kind of how we built our systems to be accountable. So I like the fact that you use the word like transparency. The one thing I like to say, not like in the purest sense, but we want to treat our donors like shareholders. No, you don't own a portion of the company because you can't do that for a charity, but it's how we represent our transparency and accountability to you as donors, right? And so that's where I think it's really important that we personalize your giving to show you this is it, right? And how can you follow your money and know exactly what that money delivered? And we can do that, and we've been able to do that. And I think that's really amazing about what we've been building and what we will continue to show.
Yeah, and like, if you log in right now and if you have been a World Vision donor, you will be able to see what we've mentioned, which is your personal proof of reach, which is a number that it represents the number of people that benefited from an intervention that you paid for. So that intervention happened, and then these are the people that benefited from that intervention that you paid for. But we are talking also here about this level of transparency that goes beyond that one number. And I know that is not exactly right now, right there as the second when you log in. So my question is that the piece that you're most excited about in the next, let's say, year, like 12 months, 6 months, I don't know. Is that the feature that I know because it's in the backlog and we are working very hard on it? Or is there something else other than this that, oh, I'm going to be so excited when this is out there and people are actually using it?
Oh, that's a tough one. Yes, that one. I think this is maybe not like a specific feature thing. I think it's more, so there's so much content out there, right? There's so much information, and information especially has become so polarizing, and we live in a polarized world. And this is not about this is not a question of or anything like that, but it's like the fact that like we have lost perspective on what goes on around the world, what goes on in our communities, because it's always attached to some sort of like personal opinion about something. And I think what I really want to get to a point is like what we share with you is providing a different perspective that you may not have thought of elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because it's not a polarizing issue. It's an issue of people's lives. And so how can we show you, and I want to be able to show people to say like, this gives you a different perspective on what goes on around the world and how people are living their lives. And ultimately like able to lead lives and decisions and create opportunities for themselves. Because to me, that's really what we're here to do, right? How do we create opportunities for people to choose the path that makes the most sense for them?
Yeah. it's so important to think about those terms and put us in the same boat, right? We're all people, and we're here to support our people, and we're all humans, and we're all trying to live through this life in the best way that we can, and helping support the people. And me as a mom, I know that that's what I'm trying to teach my kids as well. And I'm just so glad that, of course, that I have this job, but that I get to share all of these stories as well with my children as well, so that they can also grow and in this hopefully unifying world where we can think about our people that are close to us here where I am in the Toronto area, but maybe also outside of Canada, in other countries that are, and having those connections with people from different backgrounds that are not your own, but that they're still human, and we all want to see everyone thrive. So I really like that. We are getting a little bit close to my liking to the end of our time together. So I want to close us up with like a big question, but then you can share it however you feel that is appropriate. Because the first thing that I said was my name, and the second thing that I said is, this is behind the impact. So the series that we're trying to put together so that we can share more, etc. But this word, impact, I know this word has been really central to both of our lives for a really long time. And a lot of people have different definitions around it, the different thoughts about it. Some people hate it, some people love it. But how has your understanding or vision, I guess, because we're World Vision, what is your vision for what impact really means? And how has that evolved? Because I think that's also like the interesting thing for both of us, is like how we evolved in our understanding of it, but not in a geeky way, in a way that it's like, why should other people care? Because this is what we do, and we're trying to really do this well. But why should people care that we are thinking about this? Like, oh, you guys are just being like annoying. No, like, why should others care that we care so deeply about these words, and what does it actually represent for World Vision?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's hard not to be geeky about it, right?
Yes.
So maybe I'll have to go the geeky route and then come back to like, why should you care piece of it? Yeah, there's so many paths I could go down, I suppose. But maybe I'll start with this one because like, I think one thing we said, and you and I have these conversations, is like, understanding impact is not valuable if it's not helping us understand how we can do our work better, right? Like that's the first principle. Like if we can't use the information we're gathering to be better at the work that we do and find better and faster and more efficient ways to do the work, then we're not bringing the data together in the way that makes sense. Yeah. And I think that's how we built our systems to be able to do that. We also had this mantra that we said over the years. It's like, let's build for our most complicated donor. And if we think about it that way, like we build our systems so that we are able to analyze the efficiency and effectiveness of the work we do. And we're also able to give the information to the person that has helped to support that at any level, right? And I think that sort of has been the driver of a lot of the things that we do. But if I take a step back, I think like early on, like I really came at this thinking about impact like the financial sectors. Like previous to sort of taking on this role in the last 5 years, I was doing impact investing, and you can break that into sort of two pieces, right? One was like pure investments, making financial returns, and the other half of that equation was impact. How do I make sure that like we're generating impact from this? And I kind of came at this thinking like we need to show clear return on investments, right? Kind of in the same way that the financial sector does. But it comes back to that whole idea of externalities. Like, how do you include the things that there is no financial benefit associated with it? But in that space, like I really wanted to challenge the idea that, returns are not just financial, and there are broader benefits and consequences on where we place money, right? And so that was originally like where I started getting into this space. And then as I came into this role and the work that we've been doing together, my thinking has evolved more. And I wouldn't say it's built on top of those additional concepts, is the difference between contribution and attribution. And contribution is like, it says, I did this thing and something improved, right? So that's great. That's a sort of like this like cause and effect thing. But attribution asks the question is, would it have improved anyways? What if I did something different? Would it improve more or would it improve less? Right. And so like we've kind of built our entire real impact idea, and real impact being that sort of trademark we're working towards is about knowing what changed because of our investments. Or because of the donations that we've made. Like we call them investments because that's what they are. They're investments into people's lives.
Yeah.
And we want to know, did that investment actually make a difference? And can we attribute what we did? What if we did nothing? What if we did something different, right? And so we want to be able to know what that is, because that drives our ability to know, should we do something differently? Does it change the way we do our programs? And then the downstream benefits are then how do we share that with our donors? And what is the way we do that? And that's really challenging, right? Because everything I said leading up to this is like super geeky and probably like, I don't know. Do I really want to know? But this is, I guess, what I would say to any donor. And I feel like you should care, is because your money, if you have scarce resources, you should want to know that you put your money to the most efficient, most effective, high impact work. Like if you have $100 today and you want it directed to make the biggest difference, you want to understand that you did that thing, right? Or I put my money into this area that I care about. I want to know that it had a real impact. And I think that's what's important, because you care also. And you may not get into the weeds of what we're talking about, but you want to feel confident that your investments are making a difference, and it's not by accident. It's because your money is being used in the most effective ways. And I would maybe just finish on this thought. If you're a donor, and I ask myself the same question, because I am, as are you, like if you don't know those answers, those are the questions we need to be asking of ourselves, of others around us, because I think they're just fundamental in the way we need to shift as an industry to ask those questions.
Yeah. And it is such a high bar, and we talk about this all the time. I'm very proud of the team. Like we have such an amazing group of people, you know this, but they're working behind the scenes. Like they are so hardworking and like really trying to get this right so that we can actually make better decisions. So that, to your point, like we have so much scarce resources. Can we really support the most number of people, but also the deepest way, right? It's not only about a lot of people, but in a shallow way, but like going deep and really changing people's lives. But to your point, maybe it would have happened anyway. Like, why are we spending resources in this area? Maybe we should be going to something else. And it's such a high bar, but that's what I like about it, because we're always striving towards that. Even if sometimes we fall short, we know that there's so many amazing people behind the scenes, like really striving for that. And they're not selling themselves short. They're not saying like, yeah, it's good enough. Like, no, it's not good enough. The bar is so high. We need to keep trying and really keep, because these are people's lives that we're trying to support. And this is real. This is not like me, like, yes, am I going to buy this or that? No, it's like, this is people's lives that we're trying to change here. So yeah, I'm so excited that we are in this journey together, and that, again, we have the platform now to actually share this information, because we've been holding it internally. And now we have a space where people can actually engage, and hopefully we'll learn more and more as we engage with donors as well. I know that we have like a donor panel. Like if anyone is interested, you receive like emails, and then people can like tell us like, what do you like about this, or what is interest of you? And that's actually one of the ways that we discovered that people wanted to know more about the behind the scenes. So yeah, there's a lot of things that we can do together, and I'm so very excited. Josh, this has been amazing. I'm so glad. I already have like 3 other points that you said that I want to now go deeper into, and maybe we'll have a part 2, part 3. We'll see. But I'm so glad that you accepted this invitation. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for being our VP and pouring your heart in your job, because that's what you do best. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure.